As most of you know, a little over a year ago, the Washington Post and all of the major networks covered the UFO disclosure timeline. We've all talked about this. We're pretty much blue in the face at this point. However, during this time, the Washington Post did create an article, and I'll leave a link in the description, obviously. Former Navy pilot describes UFO encounter just studied by the secret program. And basically what this is it's David Fravor coming out about the Nimitz encounter. We've talked about the Nimitz encounter, got plenty of videos on that. You can check that out later. But what's interesting here is that we also have a really interesting podcast that David was on just recently. And so this is just a PSA. I wanted to give you guys links in the description so you can check this out. It's really interesting stuff. Some of the things that caught my attention in this podcast was the Nimitz incident was not classified, nor was it confidential, and no one was gagged. There was no gag order on this at all. It's just that it never surfaced, and there were only a handful of people supposedly involved. And what's interesting too is about 31 minutes 50 seconds in, he starts to say, we've been seeing these things for a couple of weeks. And he's quoting another officer on the, I think it's back at the carrier or some other fleet vessel, that they'd been seeing these for a couple of weeks before the Nimitz incident. So there's probably multiple encounters at the Nimitz incident in 2004. What's interesting is also that there's also other videos and information that can't be found about the Nimitz encounter. That happens around the 34 mark, and then around the 42 mark, the reporter himself, the podcast interviewer, mentioned that he'd never seen a UFO in his thousands of hours of flying. So I find that very interesting, and I believe he's being 100% honest. So it's not like it's something that we can take away from this podcast is when you listen to it from podcast point of view, they're being honest with each other. They have nothing to hide, and really you get a sense for the reality of the situation with respect to fighter pilots. And they also, the last thing I want to mention about the video or the podcast, and I will obviously leave a link and you can watch it. I highly recommend you watch it. David mentions that around the same time that their encounter happened, there were a lot of sightings by the Mexican Air Force. I'm going to leave that with you, and I'm going to leave some links. Check out the links. Really interesting stuff. And thanks for watching.